Hey everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am creating this really fun alcohol inked acetate card. It has a little bit of foiling on it as well, and it features an adorable stamp set from My Favorite Things called Drink Up the Sunshine, and I just love this little girl. Now, before I jump into actually creating my alcohol inked piece, I thought I would show you some of the products that I'm going to be using. I have my Tonic Easy Clean Matte. I actually have some alcohol ink Yupo paper here. I'm not going to be using that today, but I did create a sister card to this card that you can see over on the My Favorite Things YouTube channel today that does feature the Yupo paper. I have some blending solution, some various colors of blue alcohol inks from Ranger. I have some very important gloves, and then also this We Are Memory Keepers marker spritzer sprayer thing tool. It blows air. You could totally use a straw if you want to, but I'm going to take the lazy way out so I don't hyperventilate, and I'm going to use this handy dandy tool. Now I'm going to make sure that I protect my manicure, and that is where the gloves come in, because if you know me, I tend to spill, make messes, and it's just part of who I am. So I know I don't want to ruin my manicure, so I'm going to just go ahead and put on some gloves and we'll play it safe. And I have a piece of acetate here. It measures 4 1/4 by 11 inches so that I can make an A2 size card base out of it. Now I am using some of the Pearl alcohol inks from Ranger today, and I made sure that I shook those up really good. And then I added some alcohol ink blending solution to this piece of acetate, and now I am dropping on some various colors of Ranger alcohol inks. I used the Pearl color the Pearl version in Tranquil, and I also used Mermaid and Turquoise. It's very fitting for this kind of water background that I'm creating. Once I have the inks on the acetate, and I realize the acetate is kind of hard to see, but I'm just kind of creating this kind of free linear pattern here, I'm going to start moving those alcohol inks around using my marker spritzer blower tool thingy. And like I said before, you could use a straw and blow air with your mouth, and that will help move the alcohol inks around as well. And I did start with a nice amount of blending solution kind of in this free form pattern on the top of this acetate. Now this acetate is a non-porous surface, and this will not work with your traditional dye inks, but alcohol inks will dry nicely on this acetate, and that's what makes this so much fun to kind of play with, because I'm going to be left with a clear card base with this really beautiful water kind of pool effect on it. Now I'm just kind of looking over this to make sure it's what I want, and then I can set it aside to dry. Now at any time, if I want to reactivate these inks, I can add a little more blending solution, I can add a little more ink, and I can kind of play with this until I get the look that I'm going for. But I really just wanted this is almost like a river coming down this piece of acetate here. It doesn't fill up the entire piece, but it's just a really cool effect. Now I set it aside to dry for just a few minutes. It's really hot where I live today. It's like 104 here, and this dried like way fast. Faster than I probably wanted it to. But in those areas where that ink kind of pools up and creates those harsh edges, those tend to stay a little bit sticky. So I'm taking a little bit of the ThermoWeb iCraft Deco Foil in Champagne, and I'm just rubbing it onto those areas that kind of remain a little tacky. Now, as I mentioned, this dried way faster than I thought it would, because it's very dry and very hot where I lived. And so as I'm looking at this, I'm not getting as much foil transfer as I had hoped for. Because this had dried so quickly, I didn't have a chance to kind of get it on while it was a little bit tacky still. It dried back all the way. So you may have to play with dry times in your climate just to determine how long you need to let this alcohol ink dry before you apply the Deco Foil. But I'm going to show you how I fix that here. So you can see that I did get some transfer of the Deco Foil. You can see a little bit of that pearl in there as well from that alcohol ink pearl. That's really cool. But I wanted more foil. So I'm going to reactivate this alcohol ink by adding a little more of that blending solution. And I am going to kind of move the ink around a little bit and kind of create more of those harsh lines and harsh edges. And this time, I'm not going to let this dry quite as long. I am going to kind of hit it really fast. I think I only waited about a minute or two before I went in with the transfer foil this time so that I could get more areas that picked up the foil. Now, I will tell you, I may not have waited quite long enough on the second go around because I was picking up a little bit of the ink as well. But I did end up with more foil transfer. So I was having a hard time kind of gauging how much time this really needed, but by reactivating the inks, I was able to go back and add more foil to this area and kind of achieve the look I was going for. Now, you'll want to be careful if your ink is still a little bit damp and you are picking up ink with your foil. It's okay. You'll see that this turned out just fine, but you can get a little bit of ink on the back of that foil and then transfer that to the clean areas of your card base, and you may not want that, so just keep it in mind. So once I get this background where I want it, I'm going to set it aside, let it dry completely, and I'm going to start stamping some images to color for the front of my card. Now, the sister card that I mentioned earlier that you can see over on the My Favorite Things YouTube channel, that card features this Mermaid for Each Other stamp set. My card here today features this stamp set here, and this is called the Drink Up the Sunshine stamp set. I adore this little girl. She is so stinking cute on her little inner tube. And I'm just going to ink up these stamps with some Copic-friendly ink. I'm actually not using Copics today, but I'm using some colored pencils. So I have an ink that I use that is compatible with all different kinds of mediums. And so I'm inking up the stamps with that black ink in my Mini Misty here, and I'm stamping them onto some Nina Solar White heavyweight cardstock. Now, once I get them stamped, I can go ahead and start coloring these images. And for today's coloring, I am going to be using the Caran d'Ache Luminance colored pencils. And I will list out the exact colors of colored pencils that I used over on my blog, so be sure to check that out if you're looking for specific colors. Now, since I did basic colored pencil coloring, I didn't do any Gamsol blending or anything, I skipped over the coloring so that I could show you how I made this acetate card. I trimmed down my piece of acetate and I'm scoring it down the middle here, and I'm going to use my bone folder to get a really nice crease on this heavyweight acetate. This is the Essentials by Ellen clear plastic, and it is such a great weight for card bases. So if you're looking for an acetate that's good for card bases, I highly recommend this one. And once I have that card base creased and folded over, I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors and I'm going to fussy cut out my little girl that I have colored. Now, I didn't happen to have the coordinating dies today for this. If I had the coordinating dies, I would have cut her out using the die and then cut an extra one to kind of sandwich on the back to hide the adhesive. Since I didn't have the coordinating dies, I'm going to get a little bit creative in how I put this together. So I'm taking the A2 rectangle stacks from My Favorite Things, and I'm cutting 3 of those out of some Nina Solar White heavyweight cardstock. I'm going to take my little gal. I have some foam adhesive on like half of her, on the right half of her, and I'm going to adhere her to the front of my acetate card. And then I'm going to use these die cut rectangles that are all exactly the same size, and I'm going to use those to hide the adhesive. So I'm putting one on the inside of my card first. And then I'm going to flip the card over and I'm going to line one up on the back of the card so you can't see the adhesive on either one of those. And then I am going to take the third one and I'm going to add adhesive to my card base just behind where that little girl is. So I'm going to flip this open and I'm going to use some Be Creative tape just behind where my little girl is. I'm going to remove the backer from that and I am going to line this up on the rectangles that I've already adhered inside of my card. So I'm just getting that lined up. Sorry about my head there. And I'm going to close the card on this so that it picks up that third rectangle. I wanted the card front to remain totally see-through, so I left that kind of dangling there in the middle because I wanted that water effect to really come through. If I would have put a rectangle on the front, it would have covered all that up, and that would have defeated the purpose of my really cool water background and my acetate card. So I just put a rectangle on the inside, not on the front of the card. I'm going to finish off my card by adding her little sunglasses to her. And I'm using some glossy accents, these little tiny dots, to adhere these clear heart droplets from the Essentials by Ellen line. I absolutely love those. It kind of looks like water droplets coming out from where she is on her tube. And I finished her off by adding some glossy accents to the lenses of her glasses and also to that little inner tube that she's sitting on. I can't get over how stinking cute she is. I absolutely love her, and I think this is a really fun way to use your alcohol inks to create an acetate card. It's kind of something that's different and unexpected. I did want to mention I did not put a sentiment on this card. I just thought I would kind of leave it, and I can use it for any occasion that I want. But I just, like, seriously, how cute is she? I want to be her. Can I be her? Let's go get in the pool. Let's be this girl. As always, I will have links to the featured products used in this project in the description at YouTube. So if you're looking for something in particular, be sure to check there. Or you can head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. I'll have that linked below. Over there, you'll find more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies. As always, thanks for stopping by and hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of my paper crafting and card making video tutorials. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the very end. You know, if you've made it this far, you are one of my favorites. Here's a couple more video tutorials I thought you might enjoy, and go ahead and click that button on the left side to subscribe to my channel.